Alright everybody, welcome to the 2014 post-draft video. Once again, welcome Tom, my co-host. As we all know, the draft took place the other day, a couple days ago, March 30th, Sunday.
With great fanfare.
I thought it was a great draft. I thought that there was no commotion. I thought it went well.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. It was probably one of the best drafts we've had in a while, considering everything.
Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about, and this is what we're here to do. We're going to go in reverse draft order and talk about the teams, and we'll go from there. We'll give the odds, etc., etc. Metropolitans, they were the team that had the 14th pick, hence the back-to-back pick. Richard Stark. Now, I gave Richard Stark 200 to 1 pre-draft odds. Okay, I also gave him an expected C rating.
He also sat at the center table.
Sat at the center table, yes.
He sat at the center table. I thought that was very big and very bold of him.
I thought it was a blessing in disguise that he sat at the center table. Well, a lot of people don't realize he wasn't one of the first ones there. He wasn't one of the last one there, but he arrived probably after about 10 teams, and he was looking for that table. And I didn't think he wanted to sit in the middle. You know what I mean? And
I thought he felt pretty comfortable there.
I don't know. He was looking for a back wall, a side. That's what I thought he initially, because I think he might have mentioned he wanted to sit at mine. He didn't know it was mine or whatever. But it doesn't matter. You know, when you come, and whatever's available is available. But I think it was a blessing because he stood a little bit farther away from 24 home run. He was by himself in the middle, and I don't think he had anybody distracting him. And let me tell you something. I thought it paid off.
In what way?
I just think that he had a great draft. I mean, he opened up with Prince Fielder and Edwin Encarnacion.
Two good players.
Two really good players.
Two powerhouses.
A tough pick. You're after all the top players, and then you don't know really what to do at that point.
But I think he went pretty safe. You know, he went for power, and he obviously got it at two very scarce positions. They go very quickly after the first 2 rounds.
They were expected at around that point. You know, I just thought that, you know, he had flashes of brilliance. Richie Stark had flashes of brilliance throughout the draft. He got a lot of guys.
Flashes of brilliance.
Flashes of brilliance. You know what I mean? He got a lot of guys I think people were looking at, but he also had some younger guys like Alex Wood, who people were targeting, Jake Odorizzi. You know, he got Yan Gomes late. He ended up with Danny Salazar and Sonny Gray. You know, Matt Holliday in the 6th round.
Drew Hutchinson.
Drew Hutchinson, too, who I wanted.
I know you did.
You
were a little ticked off about that.
I was mad that he got him.
That was probably one of his brilliant moves.
Odorizzi and Hudson were the last 2 picks, and these are great picks. You know, I thought Richie, though, toward the end, because we did mention in the pre-draft video that these guys work a lot of hours, so I thought the fatigue might have been setting in a little bit. He looked a little tired on the face, and not overall. Like, there was a couple of picks, like Eric Ibar, you know, Nathan Eovaldi, you know, a couple of guys at the end that I would say would not make me give him a perfect draft. Lonnie Chisenhall, Mike Morse, Drew Storen, Danny Farquhar. You know, so a couple of guys at the very end, because 2/3, maybe even 70%, 75% of his draft was excellent. You know, we're gonna keep.
No, go ahead, keep going.
You know, I think I need to see what Jose Altuve does. Okay.
Well, I know you love Sonny Gray.
Yeah, I love. Who doesn't love Sonny Gray?
I know that was the guy you were targeting as well, and he's got him on his team. He also has Chris Sale, and that's a nice little 1-2 punch.
100%.
You know.
100%, and not many people could match that 1-2.
Let me ask you then. You know, having gone over his team now, what kind of odds now, having been 200 to 1 pre-draft?
Yes.
What are his post-draft odds?
Well, I tell the truth. I think Richie Stark did a great job. I find him. I think he's
You really are making room on your face for another set of testicles.
You know, I give him a B+ post-draft grade rating. I give him 20 to 1 post-draft odds. He's most likely.
Now, what's the ulterior motive for this?
Is there an ulterior motive? There's no ulterior motive.
Because you usually wear it on your face.
No,
you look into that camera straight
Richie, you did a great job. I mean, I give you. You're going to probably finish somewhere between 2 and 4th. You may challenge for 1st.
I wonder.
Just so we don't spend too much time on one team. He's got to redeem himself from those final few 7 out of 8 picks.
Okay.
I need to see what Jose Altuve gives him, and I think Rafael Soriano is probably one of the closers that could lose a gig first. I don't like him. He's very shaky. He lost a little bit on his fastball.
Well,
and I just think Richie surprised everybody, and it surprised me. He came very prepared, more prepared than people think. And you know why? Because he was stuck in the middle by himself, not getting distracted, away from 24 home run, and some of his picks show preparation. I underestimated him.
Good. Well,
Okay,
we're going to move
that's
on.
Richie Stark.
We're going to move on to team number 13, and that's Tits McGee.
Well, Tits McGee was the team that I got in. Robbie Berman and Chris Berman.
They look like they had fun.
Yeah,
they look like they enjoyed it. I was happy to have them there.
I was too.
You know,
they came in fired up because they had a lot to prove.
and they're brothers.
They're brothers.
You gotta let it. Come on, you got a couple brothers in the league, and that's good.
You know, Robbie Berman was the one entering the room with the credentials and the experience, but Chris was the one entering the room with the bravado, but nothing really to back it up. You know, other than maybe just a little bigger body. And I think what they had to realize right away, they didn't realize it initially, but they had to, maybe 2 or 3 picks, they had to come to the senses and say, wow, this is bigger than we thought.
Yeah.
This is not a 10-team, 12-team league with a big bench. So when you think you're going to get a player and then he gets picked, you have to understand, everybody knows these players. So I think that it was their first draft in a bigger league, and they were somewhat prepared, but not really, as much. They thought it would be like a 12-team league.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's something.
Well, that's what they were used to, obviously. So not a dig on them, but that's what they were used to.
It takes the first time.
It's completely different. I mean, they're lucky it wasn't 15 teams.
They're very lucky.
I mean,
but the same amount of players go in a 14-team league. I expected more from them, to be honest with you. And I think that
personally, you were very disappointed. I mean, you expressed that
very
to
disappointed.
Me a lot.
Very disappointed. And I rode them hard during the draft, and I sing them a little bit. But that's what happens. I do it to everybody, not just him.
But looking over their players, what do you think?
Well, I think that after round 13, this team just falls apart. R.A. Dickey, Mike Moustakas, Will Venable, Jose Veras, Justin Minot, Tanner Shepherds, Chris Carter, Wiley Peralta, Justin Ruggiano, Joaquin Benoit. I mean, that's 11 out of the final 13 picks that they picked. And I didn't mention anybody great over them. Okay, yeah, well, they got Craig Kimbrell, they got Tulo, big deal. But Giannis Cespedes in the 5th round, I mean, they got Garrett Cole, who didn't want him? Jeff Samardzija, no wins, high ratio, high ERA for a stud. I just think that they panicked a lot, especially with the Mike Wieters pick, and I think this is part of not being in a 12-team league. The picks that I mentioned to you were picks that they don't get drafted really in a 12-team league. Okay? And in a 14-team league, you don't want to end up with these guys.
I think they get very unlucky with Jim Henderson, obviously, with that situation.
Well, yes, that happens.
That makes things very difficult. As we all know, closer situations are very delicate, and anybody can go at any time, and there's so many jobs that change. And that's just another string of bad luck for him right out of the gate. I feel for him.
I don't know if they could handle this situation. I mean, what if they don't what if they don't get off to a really bad start and have a 1 or a 2 or a 3 pick?
A really good start.
You know what I'm saying? What if they're stuck in the middle, 7th pick, and they don't get a good pick to handle it?
Well, you know what? I don't think they have to worry about it because it's their first year in the league, and you still have to get used to the nuances of playing in a much more competitive league, and B, you have more teams and there are less players available and more people know about players. But I thought, they did a pretty good job. Where do you see them going from here?
I don't think the Henderson situation is that big of a deal. They already have 3 other closers. I wouldn't sweat it. I'd move on if you can replace it. I just think that they're asking a lot from Veras and Dickey and Shepherds and Peralta. Way too much. And you know what? He has no support other than Cole. And that's if Cole does it for Cliff Lee. And everybody knows Kimbrels and Perkins is great. I think that the staff fades after Lee and Kimbrel and Perkins, and the offense fades, and this whole draft just faded. And Tulo doesn't steal anymore. He always spends 6 weeks on the deal. Pre-draft, they were 200-1, finish around 5 to 9th. But I tell you what, I give them an F post-draft grade. An F grade, 500-1. This is one of the weaker teams in our league.
You're going to kill them around.
No, I just think they have too many holes. Too much work to do, and they needed to prepare more. And they'll learn that lesson. But I just an F grade. I think this team.
You're really disgusted.
It's not them personally. I just think that this team just. I mean, if you look at half the team, it's just a waste. I mean, honestly, this is my opinion. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome to the league.
No, they're cool. They're cool guys.
Yeah,
I work with them. You know what I mean?
Okay, we're going to go to team number 12. Gem. That's my team.
Okay. I gave Jam an A rating, pre-draft, 10-1 odds. I thought maybe an expected 2 to 4 finish. I'd be honest with you, I don't think that the 12th pick was something that Jem handled well or wanted to handle. You know what I mean? Just saying that. I think it was something where he probably wanted to be in a top 6, top 5 pick. But he did do well. You know, he took Hanley and he took Beltre. I thought Beltre went a little bit early. I was just concerned a little bit about the strategy to go, no, really not take many pitchers. You know, and then, you know, you're feeding off the anchor for Hamels, you know, being injured and stuff like that. So that's a definite question mark. And I think you could have considered maybe taking a pitcher or something else once or twice, you know. You obviously did pick some, you know, he picked some hitters like Calhoun and Span and put them on the reserve. And we already seen a trade go on. But, you know, I think there's a little lack of speed in Tommy's team. I mean, he has Beltre, he has Ramirez, he has Chu, but Chu's gone. You know, Aaron Hill, Pedro Alvarez, Brandon Moss, Christian Yelich is really one of the only speed guys I just mentioned. So I think there's a little lack of speed. I think that instead of taking LaRose, Calhoun, or Span, you maybe could have fit a pitcher in there. Street is shaky. And Hawkins, you know, we don't know the situation there with Hawkins in Colorado. I don't know if you're going to get the performances that you'll need from these cast of characters on your pitching staff. You know, obviously you made a trade to get Hyunjin Ryu, which is a good move in my opinion, and that helps because he even realized right away he needs to improve the pitching. It seemed like every time he was about to pick someone else picked him, and that's not, you know, that happens a lot, but like 1 or 2 picks beyond, I think that threw the plan off a bit. So you know, I give Tom a B- draft, you know, about 75-1 odds. I think the staff is going to just need a lot of work. It's not impossible odds because he does have a great offense. But I was a little disappointed in his draft, and I had to downgrade Jem. So those are my most likely a 6-10 finish with Jem, in my opinion.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to move on to team number 11, the Cream Team.
This is Darryl Adai Williamson. I gave him a pre-draft 600-1 F rating, a bottom 3 finish. But let me tell you something. Darryl surprised the shit out of me. I mean, I love his team. I mean, 15-1 post-draft odds.
Quite shocked. Quite shocked.
You know, I probably sat him at the right. Well, he probably sat at the right table with Anthony Palumbo. It's just a couple of older, more goofy guys that are just kind of lost in their own little world.
Goofy.
But Darryl prepared a little bit more.
Mad respect.
Darryl prepared a little bit more. I saw some color charts too. I know Bistro uses color charts. He usually is a mess at these drafts, and he definitely slipped up a little bit. But, you know, he came through well. I mean, I thought he, you know, did better than expected. You know, he didn't draft a closer, and this is going to be an issue. But as you see with Darryl, he already made a trade right now, right away. So you know he's going to move and groove. He's going to shake and bake, and he's going to figure this out. And 2 closers may end up in his team relatively quickly. You know, he does have the Kershaw situation, and I would have stood away from him. Red flags. Don't you stay away from a guy with red flags?
I most definitely stay away from previously injured players. But you take a shot. Sometimes people just land there, and sometimes you're set on a player in the first round, and I guess he didn't see a better player, so he took Kershaw. I mean, it is what it is. There are a lot of red flags, but I mean, Kershaw's Kershaw.
Well, I wouldn't have taken him. I mean, he still has Felix and he still has Price, but he did his whole thing, go a ton of pitches in a row. He's got Billy Butler. He's got Chris Davis no longer, but he has Chu now and Joey Votto. I just think that he drafted Springer. He's got to wait 2 months for him. Like, I did the same thing, too. So this isn't the worst thing in the world. I just think Springer strikes out too much. I don't think he's going to be a good major leaguer. Why draft Josh Johnson? He drafted him again. He's out 3 months or whatever he's out. So that's a wasted pick. You know, he needs a trade. He needs a swap. He needs to get the closes. You know, and he doesn't have a lot of targets I like, but just because I don't like him don't mean anything. Darryl knows how to change and work, but sometimes he overdoes it and over-switches his team. And this is a team that just needs a couple of tweaks in there. I love this team. And to tell you the truth, he's got a shot at the title. He's a 2-4 most likely finisher. Only a couple of issues, as long as he doesn't get overexcited and do too much.
Okay. We're going to move to team number 10. That's the Con Men.
Well, yeah, he changed his name to the Screwballs already.
Okay, it's the Screwball.
This is Joe Sayambeni and Phil Sayambeni. You know, pre-draft 1001, F grade expected, bottom 2 expected. But I tell you too, Joey didn't do that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a couple of times you were complimenting him, which I was
surprised. A couple of times. I think maybe because he was by himself. Not to knock Phil, Uncle Phil. But I just think that, you know, maybe Joey is one of those people that he just maybe prefers to make a decision a little bit on his own. He doesn't have to think about it. He doesn't have to discuss it with someone. He doesn't,
right.
You know, maybe that helped a little bit.
It's, yeah, well.
You know what I mean? But he fumbled around with the clock. I mean, he got our first penalty in history.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yes, he did. Didn't affect him, but it did.
It did, and he kind of kept quiet. Joey's quiet at these drafts right now. He doesn't even snap back at you anymore. You know, so he doesn't really follow the draft well, and he actually doesn't, have that bad of an offense. But he got hooked up with the Yankee again. He wanted Ellsbury. He gets Pedroia, a popular guy.
He ended up getting Chris Davis, in my opinion, pretty late.
Yeah, 10th pick
I think he
overall.